Well, the Celtics beat the Heat last night, but they lost Kristaps Porzingis to injury. Today, we got an update on the big man. The Celtics have announced the center has a right soleus strain. That's a calf muscle. He will miss Game 5 against Miami on Wednesday. Woj added that Porzingis will miss a minimum of, quote, several games, which, thanks for clearing that up. Strain is the same injury that has kept Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo out for this postseason thus far. Porzingis suffered the injury in the first half of Monday's Game 4 win. Chris Forsberg adding on social media this: key dates for the Celtics moving forward with Kristaps Porzingis' calf injury. May 5th, Game 1 of the East semis if both series are done in 6 games or less. May 21st, the start of the East Finals, potential move up to as early as 5/19. And June 6th, that's the big one, the start of the NBA Finals. And this is where we begin our deep dive as we welcome you into Arbella Early Edition. I'm Trenni Casey alongside Boston Sports Journal's Mike Giardi. We also have our Celtics insider, Chris Forsberg, and our Patriots insider and Celtics guy as well, Phil Perry.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
Sure.
I think the question everybody's wondering, Chris, is can the Celtics win without Kristaps Porzingis? They did in the regular season, 21-4, but can they do it in the postseason?
So, I mean, I think you feel pretty good about closing out this series. You'd feel better about Game 5 if you had Kristaps Porzingis out there, but I think you feel pretty confident you're going to get to the finish line there. Start looking ahead, whether it's Cleveland or Orlando, 2 younger rosters, but they do have size. I'm not overly concerned about that. I think the big thing is just you start thinking about the timetable and can he be back for a potential Eastern Conference Finals? If you're lucky enough to get there, I always have to preface it. But, you know, because a team like the Knicks, with how physical they are, with Kristaps having motivation against a former team. So I go back to it. You brought up Giannis. He's been out since April 9th. Still doubtful as their season's on the line. Doesn't give me encouragement. The average, Jeff Stott's amazing injury tracker for the NBA, says average soleus injury is 17 days. So you just start doing the math. That's the end of the second round. And Porzingis does not have the reputation that a Giannis does of a fast healer. So I just think you start thinking, start looking ahead to the Eastern Conference Finals and just hope that he is there if you're there.
I just look at this and it's really alarming to me because he has been for long stretches of this season. I think their second best player. And they are a different team on both ends of the floor if he's not out there. And so teams like Orlando and Cleveland do scare me a little bit if he's not there because of their size, because of his ability to get up and down the floor when he's at full strength, and all the things he can do, obviously, offensively, and how he changes them in that regard and just making them an incredibly difficult matchup. If you're missing him for this series, that next series, whoever it is, I'm not worried about the Heat. Stop with the Heat. The Heat are dead. It's over. That's going to go longer than it should have had Porzingis been healthy, and that's a concern for me.
Yeah, that's the big concern, right? And you mentioned the Giannis thing. So 3 weeks and 2 days since he hurt himself, he just started jogging. 3 weeks, 2 days, just started jogging. So the short end of this is the 17 days, but the long end of this is a big man with very skinny legs. Like, it's not great. It's concerning. Should they win the next series? Yeah, because they have Jason Tatum, who's a top 10 player, and they have Jaylen Brown, who gets paid $300 million and is, a top 20, 25, whatever you want to put it on. They should win that. But beyond that, if he's not back, yeah, it's a real concern because the Knicks are going to be physical, they're going to be nasty, and there is a little bit of heat in that rivalry.
Yeah, and I think the 2 most frustrating things about this injury is, one, they brought in Kristaps Porzingis because he thought he was at least one of the 2 missing pieces to get them over the finish line to an NBA title. And 2, I thought they managed him well this year, and I thought they put him in a position to remain healthy. And to see something like this, I mean, the soleus is just like, a quick little puddle jumper away from the Achilles. So that, to me, is what's scary about it. It's not like an injury I think that maybe you could, put a little PRP in there or do what you need to do and get him out there. Like, I think it's an injury you have to be careful with. How far can the Celtics go in the playoffs without a healthy Kristaps Porzingis? We would like you to join the conversation. Lose to Miami. I mean, if anybody votes for that, you're crazy. To the next round, East Finals, NBA Finals berth, or win it all. Join the conversation by voting in our polls. You see right there. You can go to the website. You can also scan the QR code right there. Thus far, the leader in the clubhouse is 60% think they can still at least get to the NBA Finals. Chris, what do they miss when Kristaps? I know they had a good, again, 21-4 in games where he didn't play those 25 games in the regular season, but what do they miss with him when he's not on the floor?
So part of it is what you miss is that safety net where things are going bad. Jason and Jaylen don't have it going on. You can go to the post, get an easy bucket. There's been nights where he's dominated. I think the more concerning thing to me is just the depth, right? Like, Al Horford has been great, and you can slot him back in as your 5th starter, a position that he's quite accustomed to with this core. And yet you're asking a lot from someone who is going to turn 38. And Al has this great ability to turn back the clock, but do I want him out there playing 38 minutes a game, 36 minutes a game? That number's probably going to still stick, around 30 to 32 minutes. So how are you feeling the other 18? Are you going small? You can probably get away with that in some instances. Jason Tatum might have to be your de facto center. But can you lean on Luke Cornett, who's been really good, like kind of quietly good in those minutes, but has to prove it on a playoff stage? 4 postseasons with Boston. I think he's only like 55, 65 minutes. And then, Neemias Queta got signed to the parent roster. I don't know if you're ready to throw him in there. And Xavier Tillman, that's the big X factor to me, literally X factor with his first name. And can you throw him in there after getting him at the trade deadline? Hasn't played a whole lot and give you something. He was very good against Anthony Davis in last year's playoffs. It's a whole nother beast to have to prove it in the middle of a team that has championship aspirations.
I'm looking at this poll right now, and if the majority of people think they can get to the NBA Finals without Kristaps Porzingis, then should they even consider, Mike? Should they even consider playing him before they get to that point? Even if he is technically, even if it's 17 days and he's saying, hey, I feel pretty good, guys, let me get out there. Do you do that? Or do you just say, no, we really need you for when we see Denver? Because that's what I'm thinking about, and that's what they should be thinking about, quite frankly.
Are the Nuggets alive in this conversation, right? Like that might be something you talk about May 23rd. Like, what's it looking like?
Well, and one of the things we were talking about off air before we get on, where the injury is, it's the lower part of the calf, which is the closest to the Achilles. In some cases, it's been a precursor to the Achilles injury. Like, you didn't just sign him for this year. I mean, obviously, you're trying to win this year, but this is beyond this. How much are you willing to put on the table and risk it? I mean, look, I'll go back to the game last night. When he tweaks the other ankle and he's limping a little bit, I wondered if Joe should have gotten him out of the game. And he doesn't. And then, what do you know? Boom, he favors the other leg. Then he pops the calf. And now here we are. And, I mean, this is foreshadowing.
But to your point about how much do you want to risk, like we saw it. I don't love to bring up Aaron Rodgers' name very often, but Aaron Rodgers had a calf injury his final last year in Green Bay. He had a calf injury all preseason with the Jets, and then he goes in and he keeps playing through it, and he goes in and he pops it. But if this is your best chance at a title, like, are you convinced that he doesn't then go out early next year? Like, how long can you keep kicking the can, down the block without, sacrificing your title chances? When the Celtics did first acquire Kristaps Porzingis, some people were skeptical about his ability to stay healthy given his injury history. Let's revisit one of those moments.
I like the player, but when you're talking about someone who has the injury history that he does and is 7'3" and he has lower leg problems, we're not talking about, a quad contusion or a hip. No. This is knee, this is ankle. These are issues that he's had. Generally, for big guys, that doesn't get better.
Listen, Nostradamus, you said it and you put it into the universe. We're going to blame you for this.
No, but I mean, it's predictable. And like I was talking about, like, so 7'3" guys anyways, like whatever. He's got the skinniest little legs. Like, I was trying to think, I was like baby deer, but then maybe it's like an elk, right? Because the elk is a big thing, right? But the little ankles, like he's just tiny. When he pops that calf, I'm looking at his legs, like if he turns sideways, you can't even see his calf. Like he's just so damn skinny. It's unfortunate because nobody wants to see him get hurt. He's played great. And, I mean, I think all of us were kind of feeling like it's going to be Denver on one side, it's going to be Boston on the other, and let's see what happens. And now maybe that's casting some doubt.
Yeah, well, if the Celtics do make it to the next round, they're going to face either Orlando or Cleveland. That series is tied right now at 2-2. Game 5 tonight in Cleveland. Game 6 on Friday in Orlando. If it goes to a Game 7, that will be Sunday in Cleveland. I'm not going to lie, Phil. I'm hoping for this series to go the distance. Just gives you a little bit more breathing room. It might only give you a day or two on the front end of when that second round series starts. But to me, that's the best case scenario. The Celtics take care of business. They have time to rest. Other teams sort of battle it out, and that just sets it up better for you. Because honestly, I don't want to just discount this injury, but I don't look at Cleveland or Orlando and say, oh boy, without Kristaps Porzingis, I don't know how they're going to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals.
No, and you shouldn't be saying that. You really shouldn't. I think it'll be a tougher series. There's no question it'll probably go longer than it should. But you have to rely on the fact that it's not going to be extra rest that helps you beat the Magic or the Cavaliers. It's not going to be coaching. It's not going to be the overall depth. It's going to be that you have the two best players in the series, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And those guys, and Derek White. But those two guys have to elevate themselves themselves, without Kristaps Porzingis in a way, Chris, that they haven't yet consistently. I know it's still early in the postseason, but they haven't done that. And they haven't done it in postseasons previous on a consistent enough basis to get them to where they want to go. So
I think you're sleeping on Derek White. Like,
I love Derek White too. Listen, the more power to him, Chris. But if they go to the finals, is it going to be because of Derek White, or is it going to be because of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
Sometimes I wonder, but I will say, like, having Derek have to be in a more elevated role, and Drew Holiday's going to have to take more shots. Trenni knows from watching the Bucks all these years. I'm not saying they're your team. I know you get mad when I do that. But like Drew Holiday, when he needs to, has been able to go up a level. Not always in the playoffs, but now he's going to have to. They still have enough depth to do this. They just have to do it a different way, and they don't have the luxury of Kristaps.
They have to answer the bell. The two Jays have to answer the bell. I would not play Porzingis until the finals. Keep him out. And then if he's the guy that turns the tide in that final series, great. But those two guys have to carry you to get to that point.
Most importantly, they got to win tomorrow. Do not have to go back to Miami. Do not prolong that series.
I was going to ask, can they answer the bell tomorrow? Because sometimes when something like this happens to your team, it kind of hits you in the gut. And maybe you don't, either you respond and you show up in a way like to play for that person and you understand the stakes. But we've seen with the Celtics team before, Mikey, like sometimes when they're punched in the gut, they stay down on the ground a little bit longer than we'd like them to.
Yeah, I mean, screwing around in game 2, right? Like, whatever. I know they shot the lights out from 3, but, like, you can defend better. You didn't. You let them get crazy, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's 1-1. So, like, the series should be over. Like, again, the the butterfly effect sort of thing. But, yeah, like, answer this, hammer it home, and then get some weight off, sit back, let those two teams hopefully go to 7 and get some more rest, and hopefully good news with Kristaps.
All right, hopefully they take care of business tomorrow. The Celtics will look. Oh, poll results really quickly. 47% of you think that they can get to
Who's
the
the
NBA
5%
Finals.
lose to Miami?
Probably Miami fans. Like we're countrywide, we're nationwide.
Jimmy Butler voted.
All right, the Celtics will look to close out the series with the Heat in Game 5 on Wednesday. We'll get you ready starting at 6:30 with Celtics pregame live. It is presented by TD Bank. You know who it is? Sarah Mitchell. That's what I'm saying in the newsroom. Wow. Yeah, pounding the Heat. You can watch the game on NBC Sports Boston or stream it on the NBC Sports app and NBCSportsBoston.com. The Boston Celtics live stream is presented by Nissan. At Nissan, we make cars that thrill. Experience that thrill for yourself today. Shop NissanUSA.com.